What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. My name is Lucas Perez and today I'm going to show you how to set up a bird cage for a small parrot or maybe even a small bird that you may have or that you may be getting in the future. So why don't we hop into today's video and show you the simple way on how to set up a basic bird cage for your new bird. So right over here we've got a decent normal sized bird cage. Now I do recommend you researching which bird you're going to have first before getting yourself a bird cage. Now the reason is because certain bird species require larger bird cages, and the cage I've got here is for small birds such as budgies, finches or even canaries, small birds that don't grow a lot. This is the ideal sized cage for those kinds of birds. If you're getting a cockatiel or any type of cockatoos, larger parrot species, I recommend you getting a proper flight cage for them because they need more space. Obviously, the bigger the bird, the bigger the space needs to be. So as I already said in the video, this cage is for small birds, and the birds I'll be using as an example or setting up this for is for budgies. As people may know, if you're a returning viewer, I do a lot of content on budgies and cockatiels. So if you're new here, I'd recommend you checking out my channel and checking out my previous videos so you get to know a bit more of what I do in the channel and what kind of projects we are going to do in the future. So I want to start off by saying something really important. When getting any type of bird, I do not recommend you filling up the bird with lots of branches and lots of toys and making so that they have no space to move around or even stretch their wings. It's important that your budgie has enough space to stretch the wings from wingspan to wingspan, so meaning they are able to have a free space to stretch their wings without having any obstruction for them. The perch I'll be using in this cage is the ones that came with the cage. These are normal wooden perches for the birds, which are safe, and these are smooth so it won't harm their feet. I wouldn't recommend you buying sandpaper perch because it can cause bumblefoot. If you guys don't know what bumblefoot is, it's when your budgie basically harms their feet and it's not good for their feet. I'd recommend going for plain smooth wood so that it doesn't harm their feet and that they're able to chew. It's really important that you have some chew toys or natural branches, whatever type of branches you use, or wood. Make sure it's safe for the birds and it won't harm them or it's not toxic for them. I recommend apple tree if you're going for natural branches straight from a tree. Apple tree branches or laurel bay tree branches. These are completely safe for your bird and they are able to chew on it, you know, whatever they want to do, or chew or just play around, and it won't cause harm to their feet. It's always important that your bird, when making a bird cage, that it has a safe environment for your bird and it doesn't cause any kind of problems or injuries to your bird. So right here, these are the normal normal perches or perch that came with the cage. So these are completely fine. Usually I'll check and have us feel when buying a new cage if these are any good, but these are, you know, perfect for them. It won't cause any problems. They're able to chew on it. It's just natural wood that's been rounded off and smoothed off. So this is really good for your birds. When placing these branches or perch, make sure that you don't place them together like so, but place them, you know, in separate spaces, places where the bird is able to jump around. And say if you have two birds, you may have a bird that's more territorial than the other. So make sure you have enough perches that the other one can get away from the other's territorial, if you get what I mean. If you don't get what I mean, then I'll suggest you doing your research. Now when it comes to toys, I do recommend you put in some shredding toys or just normal bell toys. I wouldn't recommend going for mirrors if you have a single budgie. This can cause them to regurgitate and think that there's another mate, and can cause them to be stressed as well because they are talking to someone which is not real, and it can cause stress to the bird and it can confuse them as well. So I wouldn't recommend putting mirrors if you're keeping a single bird. Make sure that you have enough time to give it attention, to make it a bit more distracted. And when you're not home, I'd suggest putting some toys with some bells that have no coating on it, because some bells are very toxic for them and they can chew on it and they can cause health problems to the bird. So make sure you do your research on that as well. You can make any toys DIY toys, or you can buy some online. There are some toys which are made of paper, which is completely fine for your bird, and there are some which are wooden toys, but obviously double check if the wood is perfectly safe for the bird. There are rope toys as well, which are good for budgies, and yeah, just make sure that you buy the correct toys for your bird, and make sure they have enough for when you're not home, so they don't get bored. So why don't we go ahead and place in these toys? These are some shredded toys. These are some papers right here, and then some small pieces of wood, and these don't cause any harm. It has a small bell here, stainless steel bell, so it won't cause any problems for when they chew. It's not toxic for them, and it has no coatings which may harm the bird. So when placing the toys, I'd recommend placing them not on top of the stick, but somewhere where they can move around. So say for example right here, that's a decent space right there, or maybe even a bit backwards, like that. Like that, they have space to move back and forwards in the perch, and then they can obviously tear things around if they want. For second choice, I've got also this kind of toy right here, and this is also completely safe. You can get this off Amazon, and it has this bell. Now I'm not going to put any birds in here, but if you were to have this, I would recommend you taking this off because it has a coating on it and it's no good. But yeah, other than that, it has plastic, and then it has wooden beads right here. Yeah, this one can go roughly around maybe over here on this side, so everything doesn't have to be maybe up here like that, like so they can come around and then, you know, have a little chew on that. Again guys, this is not the perfect way, but this is just an example, basic way for new bird owners that are looking to get a bird. We also have this one right here. Maybe we can get like a hook and put it under here, maybe under here, somewhere where it won't be caught on the feet, and this can probably go there. Obviously this has a bell as well, so I'd recommend taking this off, cutting it off away, because it can cause health problems to your bird. But right here would be good if I had the hook, but I don't have it. Right there would be a decent place. Now let's move on to food and where should you place your water. So my water bowls are always on a bit higher than the food, or obviously higher, and they are not on the perches. Even though sometimes they fly around in the poop, some poop may get in the water, but obviously with cages like these, default placement of bowls and food bowls is always at the bottom, so it's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass when you when you change your water and there's already poop in there. So I always like to put mine up high, but in a cage like this there's really nothing you can do unless you buy some bowls with some hooks and hook it on like that, and this will prevent your bird from pooping on the water all the time. With food, I like to place it on the bottom. Now the reason is because I own budgies. They usually flick around the food to look for their own seed, their own favorite seed, and sometimes when they fly, the seed shells go everywhere and go on the floor and all that, and I like to place mine on the bottom of the cage. In my flight cage, I'm not saying this cage, but in the flight cage I like to place them in the bottom of the cage like that. When they fly down to get their food, all the shells go on the floor without going everywhere on the carpet and all that, and they are able to flick around, and even if food goes on the floor, the others will come and eat it. So that's how I have my setup in there. Now for this, obviously the food placements for the food and water is actually on here on the sides for this cage, so it's pretty decent for the water, but you will have a problem when it comes to the food, because obviously, as I said, budgies flicker around. But yeah, place your food and water wherever your cage has the location for it to be, or you can buy different kind of food bowls which have hooks, and you can place them anywhere you like, really. But that's your main part done. You have the essentials done. Now let's move on to supplements and to keep your bird healthy, iodine and that. I use this multi-vit drop, and I always place on fresh bottled water for my birds. Obviously change your water daily. I change mine 2 in 2 days because they are on chicken feeders, which hold a lot more water than a normal bowl does. But I use this and it's been working for my birds. They have been pretty healthy, pretty strong, and I haven't had any problems whilst using this. Visit your local pet store or look on Amazon. If you live here in the UK, they do sell this everywhere. But if you live in the United States or something like that, I'll suggest you looking for a good brand. Maybe ask someone else or ask Facebook groups for recommendations on iodine drops for your birds. Regarding supplements, I use NutriBall for breeding if you are breeding budgies, but for newbies, obviously we're not talking about breeding budgies. We are talking about normal bird owners, people that are getting new birds. So I do recommend AV Mix, and this goes on your food every day. It's a pinch every day over their food, and this will just provide them with extra calcium and extra vitamin D, which is good for a bird. I also wanted to go back a little bit and touch on iodine and beak trimming. I do have this. This is an iodine block. This is for your birds to chew on. If you don't have, you know, liquid iodine which goes on their water, you can always buy iodine blocks. This is just a solid version of iodine, and this will help obviously your bird gain some intake on iodine, but also keep their beaks trim. So if you can't find any natural branches or any type of branch which is safe for your bird, go for this and they'll just keep chewing on it and keep their beak trim. Now, when cleaning a cage, many people use sandpaper on the bottom of the cage. Now, this is a no-no. Now, the reason being is because it can cause bumblefoot once again. I've mentioned this when I've talked about the perches in the beginning of the video, and I do not recommend you put in sandpaper. Use normal scrap paper, A4 paper, plain paper, anything that won't harm the birds, anything that won't cause any injuries to the bird. Now, if you're getting a new bird and you're literally about to get a new bird, the bird will be scared in the beginning, which is completely normal because it's going into a new environment, a new area, new family and all that. I do recommend you put in a cover over the cage. This will make the bird feel a bit more protected, a bit more secure, because if you have a cage open, it's going to have nowhere to feel safe. So it's not going to have like a safe zone. So if you do that in the beginning, it will help your bird settle in way faster than normal, and will get used to you more promptly than a bird without a cover or something like that. So that's a recommendation for my part, and I think it's something that everybody does when owning a new bird. So that's one thing to look out for. Now let's move on to the things that you should avoid when getting a new bird, types of toys and all that. Over here I've got this like cloth kind of toy thing. You can get this on Amazon, and it has like a hole here where the birds can go in, but it doesn't have a hole on this side, as you can see. Now the reason this should be avoided, or any kind of box with holes, any dark spaces, coconuts, shells and all that should be avoided, is because females can take this as breeding material. So if a female catches this, if one of my female catches this, that's it. They'll take this as a nest box and lay eggs inside. So it's not recommended you buy something like this for your bird, especially if you have a small bird and a small cage like this, because obviously it will take up a lot of space and it really has nothing special for the bird. And obviously breeding can be very difficult, is actually very complicated for newbies, for us especially experienced people. Anything can happen when breeding, so I wouldn't recommend putting any type of nest box, any type of coconut shell with a hole, any type of cloth thing like this. Should be avoided. It should really be avoided, and can provoke your budgie to breed or even mate and have eggs, children and all that. So yeah, keep your eyes off this and stay away from this. And that's pretty much it for a bird setup. It's pretty simple. If you guys follow the correct steps, you won't have a problem with your bird. Your bird will stay healthy and happy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you guys did, hit that thumbs up button. Consider checking out my Instagrams. I have an animal Instagram as well as a Facebook account, as well as a Tumblr account, which is new. So links will be down below if you want to check them out. I do a lot of behind the scenes there, so I would recommend you guys checking that out. Also considering subscribing. This will help us grow. This will help out the animals as well, live their better life. Most of the animals here are rescues, so the support you guys are giving already is amazing. So thank you very much, and consider checking out once again my previous videos for you to get familiarized with the content I do. We've got many cool projects this year, so I'd recommend you subscribing, hitting that notification bell and set it to all, which will allow you to be notified whenever I make an upload. So other than that guys, thank you very much. I'll see you guys on my next video. God bless you all. Bye bye.